Welcome to day 2 of the 2024 Please Ask Campaign and Training Week. I am Aniqua A. Creed, the founder and executive director of Journey to Self Inc. And y'all, it is such a privilege to bring you day 2 of our annual Child Sexual Abuse Awareness and Prevention campaign. It is so important that we continue to come together to educate ourselves so that we can truly feel empowered to end a child's silent suffering. And we're actually going to do this by preventing or bringing a stop to any form of sexual abuse that a child may be experiencing. We know that 1 in 10 children will be a victim of sexual abuse before the age of 18. And it's like, 42 million adults living in the US alone. So it's so imperative that we have campaigns like our Please Ask campaign, and that we can bring fearless leaders such as Zinette, our speaker today, to actually join us in bringing awareness to this form of child abuse. Because truthfully speaking, in order to prevent it, we have to break through the stigmas associated with child sexual abuse. And we have to tackle the shame head on. And we do this by talking about it. So, to kick off our healing conversation for day 2 of the Please Ask campaign, Zinette, can you introduce yourself to our viewers by sharing who you are and why you agreed to bring awareness with me today?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Zinette, and I was asked to speak to you guys candidly about myself, what's going on, and what we could do to help our community and our children. So,
Yeah.
as you know, my name is Zinette. My husband and I have 3 children. I'm not sure how we got to that number. There's like so many of them, but it's okay. I'm excited to share my journey with sexual abuse and healing. And I just want to bring awareness and bring the different things that I've learned along my journey that might be helpful to many of you who are here today.
Yes, thank you so much for that intro. And a huge thank you for joining me on the campaign this year.
Mhm.
One of the reasons why I was so excited to bring you on is because outside of our shared traumatic experience that we endured in our childhood, we both are survivors who are also mothers now. And I know personally that I've experienced motherhood play a profound role in my healing journey. So, how has the trauma you survived actually molded you into the mother you are today?
So I'm going to be 100 with
Yes.
all y'all. I had no plans to be a mother. Being a survivor parent, that was not my goals. Like, let's say I'm 9 years old. My goals in life was to be a boss. Okay. I had no
Okay.
plans to be a mom. It wasn't interesting to me. It just seemed like a lot of work. No, no, thank you. Now, my mother, she's always loved being a mother. She's a great mother. So it's not that I saw poor examples of motherhood. It just didn't resonate with like who I was, like the essence of Zinette.
Right.
Additionally, it just felt like no. And what I realized later on, like in my early 30s, was like it was also me not wanting to revisit my childhood
Mhm.
there
Yeah.
was a firm attachment somehow to um, being molested as a child and motherhood. And I wasn't sure like how it linked up, but I knew for me like it was not for me.
Right.
Now, how it's molded me as a mother, like, so I'm gonna be for real with y'all again. So I got pregnant for the first time when I was 29 years old. I felt like a teenager because I was like, this is not what I want, this is not what I want to do.
Mhm.
It was a very difficult journey. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. My husband and I, we we were roommates during that time because he wanted to keep the baby and I did not want to keep the baby. I definitely wanted to have an abortion and I didn't feel bad about wanting to have an abortion because I was like,
Right.
I can't do this. Like I knew it was going to bring up a bunch of things that I I didn't want to bring up. I've been through
Mhm.
therapy a million times. I probably had more therapists than the average person, but even still at 29, I was like, nah, chill, this is not for me.
Right.
So eventually I did end up having the baby. I say the baby, which is very detached language, but it was the pregnancy, it was the baby. When our
Yeah.
first daughter was born, I didn't want her. I didn't love her. I didn't want to hold her. All of those are from my, traumatic experiences as a child. I was
Mhm.
afraid that not that I would be the monster that those people were to me, but I was
Right.
afraid that as a mom, I wouldn't be able to protect her,
Mm.
and I knew she was gonna come out looking like me, acting like me. I just knew all these kind of things, and I was just like, "Oh, no, this is too much. This is too much." So, I guess that's the long answer to the short question. It was just in the beginning super difficult. Uh,
Right.
it got easier though, because I remember I took her home and I was like, Lord help me, because I don't want to do this. And I did have like a backup plan. Like if in a couple months I can't do this, maybe I could give her up for give her up for adoption or something. Or
Right.
my husband was like, "Are you nuts?" But it was just I just felt like I couldn't do it. But I took her
Yeah.
home and I was like, Lord help me out. And what I did was I just tried to um, do the not the basic, but like I'm gonna keep you fed, I'm gonna keep you warm, I'm gonna play with you. A big thing
Right.
for me with our first child was to breastfeed
Oh,
because
yeah.
I just felt like that would help me bond.
Mhm.
It really did. It was hard getting used to someone constantly touching me.
Yeah.
Very difficult getting used to somebody constantly needing me, my body. And I struggled with that for a while. I was able to breastfeed her till she was 11 months. And at that time, that was one of my biggest victories as a survivor parent because some of us, we don't like to be touched.
Right. You
Difficult
right.
person. And then you have this little person who just wants you, needs you, and it's a lot. So I guess that's like my short intro into motherhood when I was 29 and I got pregnant. And then, I think I just have always been intentional about trying.
Right.
If it wasn't it didn't match my goal, like my life goal. Like I was like, I'm not trying to be a mom, ill. And then look at me now. So to me, that's
Right.
very interesting.
I definitely resonate with that because just like you, when I was a kid, I was like, I do not want children. And I'm very fortunate that God had other plans for my life because I can't, like, looking back now, I can't picture my life without my two daughters. But it was definitely never in that Capricorn laid out plan that I had in my journal.
Right?
And right. And when I thought about it too, a big piece was the fact that I knew what I had endured as a child. And I knew that my boundaries were not respected by people who I trusted, relatives, even other kids that I grew up around. And
Right.
so I knew that at some point, if I was to become a mom, I would not always be able to be around my child. And there could possibly be a chance where there was somebody that I didn't get the chance to vet. And
Mhm.
so that alone had my anxiety through the roof. So I was just like, no, motherhood isn't for me. And so when the time came and I did actually become a mom, I made sure that a big part of my motherhood journey was empowering my children so that they knew how to be confident and how to set their own boundaries and somewhat advocate for themselves in those situations when I'm not around. Because otherwise, I'm like trying to control everything, and
Right.
it'll drive you crazy.
That is
It
right.
really will. Yeah. So one thing that I've realized that many people can't really understand is the fact that child sexual abuse is actually a cycle. Some people like to say a generational curse. Some people use the term generational trauma. But my grandmother experienced child sexual abuse, and my mother experienced child sexual abuse. And then here I was also experiencing that same form of abuse. So I'm like, at one point, somebody got to say, enough is enough.
Right.
And I've been very proud lately to be that person for my bloodline. And I'm curious to know, can you share some ways with us of how you're breaking those cycles and protecting your children from abuse?
Sure, I would love to share that. But before I do, I would just like to say that we are like-minded because,
Mm,
again, with our first daughter, in my brain, I was like, "You are gonna be the first generation to
yeah,
not experience childhood sexual abuse." Same thing, mom, grandma,
right.
same cycle, same thing. And,
Wow.
like, so what was burning in my brain was, so how do I stop it? How do I create an atmosphere, create an environment that would negate any entrance of childhood sexual abuse? Like, how do I do that? And
Right,
the first thing I realized was, well, girl, you can't do it by yourself. And what are some things that my mother or my parents did that were helpful? And what
right.
were some things that were not?
Mm,
And
mhm.
from those different experiences, I was able to glean things that I use right now. So, just for reference, we have a 6-year-old, we have a 3-year-old, and we have an 11-month-old. So, yeah, we're done. We're done, guys. We're done. Um, but I'm dealing with a lot of different ages, and those
Right.
ages have different needs. And so, my number one thing is empowerment. You touched on that a few minutes
Yeah,
ago. How do I ensure that my children feel empowered? How do I ensure that they feel heard and safe?
right.
So, the first thing, again, with my first child, because I guess that's like my first example of doing these things. Her name, her middle name, I wanted to give her a powerful name. Her
Mm.
father gave her her first name, which is cool, but her middle name is, it means chief or leader.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
So my maiden name, I still go by it, Zinette Leader. I didn't take my man's name because I like my name. But she's a leader, someone who has their own mind, someone who knows exactly what they're doing, the person who makes decisions.
Oh, I
For
love
some
it.
reason, that was in my mind. I needed
Right.
empowered. I needed her to make her own decisions about herself, power,
Yes.
self-efficacy, body awareness,
Mm,
everything. I needed her to have that ingrained in her. So I gave that as a part of her name.
right.
Self-expression. So
I
I don't know
love
if
it.
you can notice, but like I express myself in however I would like to do it. And that can be easily dampered as a child because you're
Right.
told to be quiet, you're told like what to do.
So true.
Oftentimes when we're expressing ourselves as children, we're told that we're talking back, but really we're just speaking, we're speaking our mind. The
Exactly.
things that I have been intentional with my 6 and 3-year-old is to be able to feel your feelings. You're mad right now? Go ahead. You want to scream? Go ahead. But like if the baby's sleeping, you got to do that outside. Uh, you want to stamp around, you do that. Go feel your feelings, and when you're done, we're gonna talk about it. Because me yelling at you because you're yelling, how does that make any sense? That's not gonna
Exactly.
when I when I'm able to let them express themselves, whether it's a positive feeling or a negative feeling, I'm not gonna say good or bad.
Right.
It opens up this communication where you can then tell me how you're feeling about things. You feel safe telling mommy and daddy how you're feeling or what happened in school today or what happened when you're with your grandparents or you were playing with your cousins. It allows you to have the practice in your
Exactly.
mind.
Mm,
Also, kinesthetically, body awareness. So I do this thing where I let my kids like jump on the furniture and I let them run around. I know children need an outlet, and maybe that comes from myself, having ADHD. And as a child, there's a lot of, you need to
right.
sit down. Girl, you need to stop.
Mm,
There's a lot of, you're not listening. But I was really trying so hard to listen. I was trying so hard to be good. I was trying so hard to do these different things. And it was
right.
just a lot of dampening of what my needs were. I had some kinesthetic needs, I had some sensory needs.
Yeah.
And a lot of times children have these needs and we're not aware of them, or we think that they're just very one like just a one layer. No, children
Right.
are faceted and they have different needs.
So
So
true.
going on to empowerment, self-expression, kinesthetic needs, we tell them what to wear, what to eat, how to walk. They're
Exactly.
their own person. The more that we kind of put them in a box or keep them to the side, the less experience they have being
Mm,
their own person, making up their own mind, and being aware. Do I feel safe? What does
right.
safety feel
Oh,
like? Okay, so I'm safe in this moment. I will be able to recognize when I don't feel safe.
Exactly.
Right. And then that continues with like body positivity. I think my mother did a really great job with body positivity because I was 25 years old the first time I heard a woman speak negatively about themselves.
Oh, wow.
Right. She was always very pro, you're beautiful, your hair is amazing, your skin is
Oh,
you
that's so
is,
important.
your body is fine the way it is. And like me and my sisters, we all have different body types too. So it wasn't like
Right.
this body is perfect. It was just you are amazing the way you are. And I think that was without realizing it early on, like that was very helpful. And that's something that I do with my girls. So I also, I guess I do this thing called consent parenting. I don't know if people have heard about it, but it just ignites and solidifies the fact that they're the boss of their body. They have the last say. This
Yes.
has been very difficult to um, continue in my family. So with
Right.
the broader extended family, this has been something very difficult because I've had
Mhm.
candid talks with the people in our village, and
Right.
it's just something that's very close to my heart, letting them understand that they're the boss of their body. They have the last say. Yeah, I'm your
Yep.
mom, but
Yep.
unless it has to do with your safety, like I'm gonna hold your hand when we cross the street. But you don't want that hug, you don't want that kiss, you want to wave, you don't even want to say hi, you just want to walk and wave. That is fine. Your sister
Exactly.
asked you to stop touching her shoulder. Your sister asked you to stop kicking her. You need to listen to what she says. And then I'll ask, like, why do we have to listen to what your little sister says? Then just
Right.
say, oh, because it's about her body, right? So it's also those examples and stopping when I'm seeing something going on in the home, we get to practice. These
Exactly.
are these are just some of the ways that I'm trying to break the cycles, and I'm hoping I'm doing a good job, and I feel like I
You
am.
are.
Some days I
Yes.
feel like I'm killing it, and other days I'm like, "Oh my god."
Listen, you are killing it. And we have some similar parenting skills there too. And I commend you on exactly all the things you're doing in your household because I know it's not easy, but it is very, very, very necessary, right?
Yes, I
And
think so.
since
Thank
I've
you.
started, yeah, and since I've started speaking more publicly
Mm,
about my own childhood, I've met so many other parents who are very apprehensive to talk to their kids about sex. They're not even using proper terms to like associate with the body parts. And that's honestly what led me to create this Please Ask campaign. I wanted adults to know how the things we were doing or the things we were not doing was actually making our kids more susceptible to experiencing sexual abuse. So, as a survivor yourself, when do you think it is important that we actually talk to kids about consent, like you mentioned, and boundaries and body safety concepts? When should we do that?
from birth. I think
Period.
that we should be period, you already know, from birth.
Yes.
And I'm gonna
Yes.
use the example of my first child. I did not realize that I had started certain things from birth. I think I was just trying to open up communication. And like I told you before, told everyone, like I wasn't trying to be a part of the club. And my connection to her, I would talk to her. I'll talk to her like she's a person because she was, although she was a
Right.
baby. So we're about to change your diaper. I'll be like, all right, Sarah, we're gonna change your diaper. I do this with my 11-month-old now. Hey, Jace, we're gonna
Oh,
change your diaper. I'm gonna lay you down. Just lay him down. Okay. This is a wipe. It's gonna be a little cold, but I gotta wipe off a little stuff first. So I'm just building the body awareness. This is happening because we're doing this. This is what it might feel like. After this is what's gonna happen. And that's easy for me. Like in my mind, like that's easy to do from birth. So now
right.
let's talk about like potty training or giving them a bath. The same way that we talk about this is your nose, we use it to smell.
Exactly.
My vulva, I have got to clean it, right? This is
Yes.
my butt cheek or buttocks, whatever you want to call
Right.
it. This is my butt crack. Did you clean your butt crack in the shower? You know what I'm saying? Like you need to use the terms that are correct.
Yes.
Across different cultures, we have the different words that we use for different parts. Not
Right.
cut that out. That's something that my mother did that was helpful. We always knew the anatomical terms. It's easy, guys. Penis,
So important.
vulva, vagina, labia. We got the parts. It's
Right,
along with
right,
learning. You teach them their eyes, they're used for seeing. You teach them their ears, they're used for hearing. You know,
right.
you're
Continue that across the board.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Uh, Another thing that we do, it's a little difficult sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, it's not always easy. Like, let's say I have a daughter that's very tender-headed.
Okay.
I have got to comb your hair, darling. I can't let you leave this house looking any kind of way. One time, I don't know, she might have been 4 or 5. I was combing her hair. I'm being super gentle. I'm not lying to y'all. I'm being super gentle. A little spray bottle, a little leave-in conditioner. I'm being gentle. "Ah, you're not listening to me. I said it hurts. I'm the boss of my body." Ah. So, on one hand, I'm thinking, yes, girl, you the boss of your body. Okay. She's listening. Okay, okay. And on the other hand, I'm thinking, but you look a mess. I have got to fix this. And so there were real tears, real crying. It was,
Oh,
I shouldn't say painful. She's tender-headed, so it was painful to her, right?
right,
And so
right.
there needed to be a pause. I need to acknowledge her feelings. I
Yeah,
needed to reiterate what I was doing and why it was important. And I need to express, like, yes, you are the boss of your body, but this is not a safety concern, right? Uh,
right,
there are
right.
also things that I actually say, like we actually have conversations about your private parts,
Yeah,
what your private parts are, and why no one should touch it. No one should ask to touch it. You shouldn't be touching anyone else's.
right.
There are a lot more books now than there were 5 years ago
So
that
true.
help that to help open up that dialogue, that create scenarios, whether it's
Exactly.
school or babysitter or with your family or sibling, and just pushing the ideas to the forefront. Like, you have your own body safety that we go through. We go
Yep.
through that before, my daughters have a play date. We talk about boundaries. Like I told you before, like your sister asked you not to do that. That's her boundary. We need to keep
Right, right.
expressing and telling us what her needs are. I
Hmm.
haven't had to do it in a while, but obviously I was on this page, and I had to get my husband on the same page because he'd be like, "Why do I gotta ask her?" And I'm like, "Because she's a person. You gotta
Right.
okay." And he's like, at first he's like, "That doesn't make any sense," but then after a while, he's like, "Yo, it does make sense, and I understand why we're doing it, and I understand why it's important to you."
Exactly.
I think I've gotten 2 out of the 4 grandparents on the same page. The other one is trying, and then there's one that's just like,
Right.
doesn't care, is not trying, and like,
Exactly.
you wanna just punch somebody, you can't really do that, but, like, you're just trying to rein them in, like, "This is what we're doing as a family. You're a part of
Right.
our family, and we have to be on the same page to be able to bring the best outcome." And I've had,
Exactly.
like, real conversations with, my parents and my in-laws. Like, when I say conversations, I mean, like, I've sat them down, y'all.
Right.
I said, "This is what I went through as a child. So in order for this to not have to happen to my children, this is what Jesri, that's my husband, this is what Jesri and I are doing differently."
Right. Right.
And I think I've had 2 or 3 of those conversations with them over the last 6.5 years, and some of those conversations have gone well, and then some of those conversations have just gone down the hill. But
Yep.
guys, we just gotta try. We just gotta implement
Right.
what we feel needs to be implemented, and it's okay if we have feedback from the other people in our village, but ultimately, they're our children. Ultimately,
Exactly.
we're like the first line of defense. We're the first line of armor. We're the ones who are helping them be empowered and be safe.
Yes.
The last thing I think, we talked about consent, we talked about boundaries, we talked about
Hmm.
concepts. We are also, this is not so easy, but it's something you have to remember to do. It doesn't matter how much we tell them. We have to
Right.
model it.
Yeah.
We have to model, hey, in our daily conversations or daily interactions with them and other people, boundaries, um, you know, safety. Like, I'm being safe. This,
Exactly.
I asked you not to do that. And
Hmm.
I need you to listen just the way that you don't like, whatever, whatever. And also, I
Right.
just want to say it can extend. I'm learning now. it can extend past your body. Like my older daughter has like a diary with like a lock and a key, and her little sister always wants to touch it
Oh,
and and go in it. It's like, no, but this belongs to your sister, you know? So
exactly.
also trying to do that with things, I'm learning that it is helpful to also categorize that as, a boundary, consent, to know you can't, yes, you can.
Definitely. Oh my gosh. I agree with every single point you just shared with us. And it's funny because so now my oldest daughter, she's 10, my youngest is 4.
Mhm.
But my oldest was actually like 6 when I first spoke to her about just body safety and consent. And I realized I was doing it from a very fear-based perspective. And so I was like stressing my baby out. At one point, she was on the playground and somebody touched her hand and she was like, you didn't ask me. This is my personal area. So she was freaking out and I had to intervene. And I'm like, oh my God, I am frightening my child. Right. And so it got to a point where I had to expand my own knowledge. I
Mhm.
had to face my own internal fears, actually commit to my own healing journey because it was just a lot of stuff that I had suppressed. I experienced child sexual abuse when I was like 3, 4, and I did not speak on it until I was like 29.
Mhm.
And it was actually like a health scare in this situation that was going on with my thyroid that motivated me to start speaking my truth. And during that healing journey, that's when like I even remembered what I endured in my childhood. And so here my oldest daughter was, and I'm like throwing all this stuff at her, and she's like, "You're freaking me out." And so after like really starting my own healing journey with my youngest daughter, I was able to have those conversations much sooner in a much more age appropriate and safe way. And like you stated, there are so many books and just other tools that are out here now that will help you kickstart those conversations if you're not accustomed to it. Yeah,
We don't have to
already.
do it by ourselves. Google is there to help. Trust
So
me.
true.
Go on Amazon and just be like, body safety concepts for kids, and you will get
Yes.
a lot of things. And you're even getting diversity in the mix. Finally, there are some authors and some survivor parents like you and I who are publishing books, and it's a
Yep.
lot more relatable, especially for my 6-year-old when she sees people who look like her. So I love that.
Yes.
Going back to what you said about we're creating something new, right? As
Right.
parents,
Right.
this is the generation that is not going to go through what we went through,
Yep.
and I think for many of us, we're starting from fear because we
Right.
are fearful that XYZ will happen or that
Right.
XYZ won't happen, right? There is a lot
Yep.
of fear in the beginning. And I too was like that. And I didn't realize it until my oldest daughter, she might have been 3 or 4. I was telling her about body safety, and it was an example about somebody touching you.
Right.
You don't want to touch them, just tell them no. And like it was just,
Right.
I don't remember what I said, but I think that's how it was received. Whatever I said, it
Right.
was received as nobody should touch me.
Mm.
That's how it was received. And she said to me, well, what if I want a hug?
Oh,
And I thought, that's a good question.
right.
Because she, I think sometimes I wonder what my default person would be like. Like, who would I be like if this hadn't happened? But like
Right.
the person that I am now, I don't really like
Right.
hugs. I don't feel safe with hugs. So I'm not
Mm.
right. My
Right.
older, on the other hand, give me all the hugs, give me all the kisses, give me all the love from people I know and people I don't know. So for me,
Right.
it was like, well, what if I want that? And then there had to be a shift. There was a lot of no, 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 or be careful, be careful, be careful.
Right.
Because he's the one responsible for her safety, which is not true, y'all. They're not responsible. We are responsible for creating the environment and the village and everything.
Yes.
Be safe. But what was I saying now? See, that ADHD got me. Um,
You were talking about the shift that you made from being fearful and
right,
like redirecting the hugs that she
right.
wanted.
So what if you want that hug, that kiss? And
Right.
then I had to reframe how I would speak to her about her body safety I say, well, it's
Mm.
okay if you want to, right?
Right.
Want to give your friend a hug, you're running up, can I give you a hug? And you give the best, biggest hug. So it's like, hey, you know, you want to do the, tell them, yeah, sure. You speak up
Right.
and say, this is what I want and this is what I don't want. Versus
Exactly.
what I was doing in the beginning was,
Shutting it down.
right, but that's not her as a person, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you have a mouth, verbalize what you want. And then obviously we can't just tell them use their words, y'all. We got to give them the words to use because they don't know
Yeah.
the language to use. Just the way that we're learning, they're learning from us.
Very true.
Feedbacking on that fear-based teaching,
Right.
not as helpful
Right.
because then also what if something does happen? It could be the smallest thing, but what if something does happen? Then
Exactly.
that, oh my God, I didn't do what I was supposed to do because I'm responsible for my safety. And
Right.
more collaborative than I think many of us begin the journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so helpful. And then, I think once we all understand the fact that child grooming is real, right, then we'll truly be ready to have these conversations and learn how to put the fear to the side so that we could truly, truly, truly save our babies. And for the viewers who don't know, child grooming is basically a very deliberate process, right? That predators rely on so that they could slowly start and maintain this sexually abusive relationship in secrecy with our babies. And so, another thing I want us to talk about is like, what are some signs, right, of child sexual abuse that you think people should look out for?
That question is a little tricky to answer. And the only reason why is because, it could be different for different children for different reasons.
Right.
Different type of abuse, different personality, different home situation, how
Very
well
true.
they've been groomed and how well their family has been groomed. Because
Right.
the predator, whether the perpetrator, whether it's a child, an older child or an adult, they will be
Yeah.
grooming everyone involved to make sure that they can get what they want to get without anybody knowing, right?
So glad you
So
said that. Yep.
right. So we're just remembering, keeping in mind that everybody's different. And
Right.
I guess I was thinking about myself or like other people that I know in my family. One thing that I did, I used to cover myself a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was ashamed, but I think I was covering myself. I didn't want anyone to see me.
Right.
So
Right.
this, I don't remember how old I was. Not a teen. I don't think I was a teenager yet. I was,
Yeah.
and this is after the abuse. Did the abuse end? I don't remember, guys. So many things in my brain. I'm like 36 now, but I would cover myself a lot. I don't want you to see me. I don't
Right.
want it's not just I don't want you to see me. I don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
I want to just
Yeah.
disappear and maybe I'll be safe if you don't see me. And when I
Right.
say you, I mean everyone. I cannot be
Yeah.
I'm not here, therefore I am safe. I am safe, right? But
Right.
being extra secretive, that can be a little difficult because depending on your birth order and your personality and whether you
Right.
are neurodivergent or not, but being secretive in many things. And that's why it's important for us parents to um, show our kids the difference between secrets and surprises, right?
Exactly.
And
So important.
one is positive, one is not. So in my family,
Exactly.
we don't even use that word. I cut
Right.
it out. Like let's say someone is just harmlessly saying, "Yeah, I got a little secret for you." No, we don't do them. And I
Right.
write in a little sentence. You see, that's a boundary for our family. We don't do that,
Exactly.
right? That's a little insert. One
Yeah.
of the other signs could be, like unusual affairs.
Right.
Sometimes it could be around touch or being alone. Could be being in the dark or being alone with a specific person or going to a
Right.
specific place where the abuse might happen a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
One I found on Google that it's hard for me to, but it might be true for some people, is difficulty concentrating,
Mm.
having difficulty with your memory, zoning out, seeming distracted, difficulty listening,
Yeah.
because that was me. But
Right.
I think I've said before, I have ADHD. Uh,
Yeah.
It's something that my parents have known about since I was a small child. So, sometimes things overlap and you might not be sure, like, oh my gosh, is she listening? Oh my gosh, she's zoning out again. It's multifaceted. There are different layers to signs. And I think that's
Very
why it's
true.
important for us to create a space where communication is okay.
Right.
And
And
for
it's
the
so
sake of
important.
express.
Right. And it's so important that we actually have relationships with our children. So any change in personality, right? Or any change in the
Right.
usual character of your baby, you will somewhat pick up on it.
Mhm.
And I feel like I've had so many friends and so many relatives since I've started sharing what I endured in my childhood. They'll come to me and they're like, I had no idea that you were experiencing that. And I started to think to myself, well, y'all, the signs were there, like me no longer wanting to come around and socialize, me being super angry. Everybody thought I was just
Yes.
feisty. I'm like, no, like the
Me
anger.
too. I didn't smile. Don't tackle me. It was
Exactly.
me
Like,
trying to safeguard myself, and also I was
yes,
angry. I was angry.
yes. I'm like, there were signs you all just was not aware,
Right.
to like pay attention to those things. So it's just very important, right, that we be conscious parents, if you will.
Yes.
And that
Said
actually
it.
flows me, yes, into my next question for you. What is your personal definition of conscious parenting? And do you think it actually aids in you being this safe space for your children?
I 1000% believe that practicing conscious parenting has been a positive
Yes,
thing in my family of five. Being positive just helps us attune better to each other. It's being
right,
mindful of our children's needs, of their emotional intelligence,
right,
the decisions, their feelings, feeling their feelings, and knowing their personality. Each child is different. You guys already know that.
right,
And the way that I might treat my 6-year-old is not necessarily the way that would be helpful if I did the exact same thing with my 3-year-old. Not only is it just the different ages, but the way that they think is totally different. Their needs are totally different.
right.
We talk about feelings a lot in my family, and I have one child that cries a lot. And oh my God, it's so irritating. Because I'm not a crier, okay? I'm not a
Right,
crier. And there's just so many tears, and it just feels like she's always crying. But is a way that she expresses herself. She has got to have this release, this cathartic release, and the tears are always attached to words, which are
mhm,
expressing how she's feeling. That she's not getting a need met. It's usually not
right,
getting a need met. So she's not listening. My sister's saying this about me, or I said I don't want to do this, and you're not listening to me. Sis, I'm listening to you, but you still got to do X in order to do Y. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So being conscious about their needs and what might be more helpful, making
Yeah,
adjustments because maybe I thought this was going to be working and it doesn't seem like it's working. Instead of blaming
yes,
the child, let's reevaluate what we're doing and try something else.
yep.
Another thing, when we're talking about our children, when I was little, I just felt like I was always being blamed for stuff.
Mm,
I always felt like I wasn't good enough. And I always would try to be perfect. I'm learning now that I was
yeah,
trying to be a perfectionist because
yeah,
I felt like I was easily making mistakes. And I only realized recently that I'm actually kind of brilliant. And, I'm fine the way that I am. I
exactly.
realized too that sometimes the way that I speak to my kids,
Yeah,
it is, and especially my husband too, it's the way that he speaks to them, sorry, it's accusatory.
okay, yeah,
We need to be mindful, and that deals with
mhm,
a conscious parent, of how
right,
we speak to them, what our words will mean to them, and how they feel about themselves. Trying to get a
exactly,
good example. Okay, let's say someone's screaming or crying, and you walk into the
right,
room, and the first thing you say to one of the kids is, "What did you do?"
right,
Accusatory. Who says they did anything?
right,
What did you do to your sister? Who said? Who says that happened?
Yeah.
And so immediately that puts the child on the defensive, and then there's this all the spiraling of emotions and
Yep.
unmet because we decided that someone
Right.
is responsible for this crying, this screaming, this broken table, something. And so
Right.
being mindful of everything from all of our interactions. And also when we
Mhm.
speak about our kids, you think they're not listening. They hear you. We need
They
to be
do.
positive about the things that we say about them.
Yes, so, so true. And I know social media, right, likes to joke a lot about the differences between generations.
Mhm.
But I must say that I personally am very proud to be a millennial mom or a millennial parent
You already
because
know.
I feel like, right, I feel like we are a generation that truly take pride in like deconstructing how we were raised and then reconstructing how we actually want our family to operate. We rebuild something better, if you will. And whenever I get with other fellow Black moms, such as yourself, and we're talking about conscious parenting and being mindful and what self regulation is, and just all the things under the sun, it gives me so much joy because it's truly how we make the necessary changes, right, for the future generations. So I know I can talk to you for 5 more hours,
That
but
is true.
in an attempt to respect both of our time, I
Mhm.
am going to wrap up our conversation by asking you one more question. And that
Okay.
basically is what are some healing techniques and tools that you have found to be helpful during your personal healing journey?
Great question. I would like to just say that I'm still on this journey. It's
Yes,
not A to B. It's just
continuous.
all over the place, continuous. Sometimes we feel up, sometimes we feel down. It's a lot. It's a lot going on.
Right.
What's been helpful. Okay, so I've tried talk therapy a few times,
Okay. Okay.
and I guess I just haven't found the right therapist, in person or virtual. I've had
Mm,
some that were okay, and I've had some that were terrible, but
right.
I kept going because I mean, just because the first one was like the first initial meeting is terrible doesn't mean like we can't, you know.
So true.
But it hasn't been like the best situation for me. I will say that because so
Right.
that's about talk therapy with a therapist. Group
Yeah.
therapy, I think I just need to find the right group facilitator
Yeah.
and the right group members. I tried it
Yeah.
once and it was kind of all over the place, but I want to try that again.
Okay. Okay.
Adventure therapy. Ooh, my favorite. Okay. So I didn't know it was a thing, but I knew it was a thing. I don't know if that makes sense. But like I like to go do dangerous things. I don't realize they're dangerous. I just realize they're dangerous because other people tell me it is. Like me
Mm.
jumping off a cliff in the Mexican desert. Like that was amazing to me. Like
Oh my
it's
gosh.
just so freeing. It's like you have no worries in the world. It's like, oh, it's just so amazing.
Oh my
Snorkeling in
God.
the ocean, zipping
Right.
in the jungle. I like doing things. Jumping out of airplane. Those things are
Okay.
yeah, skydiving. Those things are very fun to me.
I
And I
love
mean, it's
it.
not something like I'll do it and it'll
Right.
carry me for months. I don't know if that
Oh,
makes sense. Like I'll
it
be on a little
does.
bit of a high for months. I could do anything because I did this and it was amazing, you know?
Right.
So I've learned that it's actually called adventure therapy. So that's
I
what I
love it.
it's a little pricey, but anytime you get
Right.
a chance to do something that you haven't done before,
Oh,
do it.
I love
Grounding,
it.
that's free, y'all. So barefoot, my mother introduced me to this. Barefoot outside.
Yes.
You hear the birds, you might hear the breeze.
Mm.
You're able to center yourself and be in this place, in this space. We're not thinking about and depressed about the past. We're not anxious or
Right.
worried about the future. We are just breathing slowly. We're walking. We're feeling the grass. What I learned takes it
Mhm.
up a notch is do it early in the morning with the dew between your toes.
Oh,
It's just so amazing being outside, being
everything.
charged by the sunshine. I'm an
Right.
outside type of girl, so I
Oh,
love that.
I
I love
love it.
water. I wish I
Yes.
lived closer to the ocean, but Atlanta. We can't really do that right now. Positive
Right.
self-talk and mantras has really helped me if I'm in the middle of like a trigger.
Yes.
I get triggered by my children every single day. I'm so grateful. It's less and less and less and less. One of the big triggers for me that I remember is potty training,
Mm,
night potty training,
right. Oh,
because I'm going into their room at night. They're little. You have to wake them up. You have to help undress them.
right.
Oh my God. That was one of the most difficult things, I think.
Yeah.
At the beginning, what I did was positive self-talks. So me and my therapist at the time, we came up with a little spiel. You're
Right.
safe. I'm safe. I'm helping you use your potty so you don't wet the bed. All right. Are you
Right.
doing all right? You're gonna wipe, like talk through the things that you're doing to help
Yeah.
you get centered and know like what it is that you're doing. But also,
Mm-hmm.
guys, advocate for yourself. So I'm partnered and I just got my husband to do the nighttime pottying after a while because do I
I
need
know
to
that's
stress
right.
myself out? Do I need to be triggered by, no, no,
Right.
daddy can.
Right.
Okay. So that's
Yeah.
also another thing. Advocate, get somebody else to do it. Um,
All of that. All of that.
exercise. So I don't really get those exercise endorphins like a regular person. Like I hear, yeah, I exercise and I get pumped up. But no, I do not feel that way.
Me
But
neither.
I like to sweat. I like
Yes.
to see the journey that my body's taken, getting firmer, getting stronger. And I want my
Okay.
body to be as strong as my mind is becoming. I
Yes.
need there to be some syncopation in that area. So
Right.
exercise is helping, and it's about feeling good about myself and
Yes.
connecting my body to a
Mm,
non-trauma incentivized type of situation.
exactly. Oh, I love it.
That's helping me right now because I go to the gym about 4 or 5 times a week.
Oh,
Thankfully, because my father-in-law can watch the kids. So me and my husband are gonna go
right.
a little date, like, we do
I,
that.
I
And
love it.
I'm able to leave my kids with their grandfather because I've done the work to ensure that they're in a safe place. I've done the work,
Exactly.
conversations with my father-in-law, and he's asked me questions about my trauma too. Not just my father-in-law, but like I said, my parents and my
Right.
to be that for them to be able to wrap their minds around like why isn't that the way she is, and but just for us to be able to create this place, this space
Yeah.
for the children that they're helping us raise.
Oh.
And the last point, you asked me about techniques and tools that's helping me in my healing journey. The most unexpected thing, and I'm not recommending you do this, but what has been helpful in my healing journey is
Hmm.
um
Wait,
yeah,
say it again because I didn't.
I can't say too loud. What has been helpful for me in my healing journey is becoming somebody's mommy.
Look at that. Look at how it goes all the way back around.
The baby I did not want has helped me tremendously. Now that
Yes.
we could have a part two to this about how it wasn't always that way, how it got great and then it got bad, like
Right.
depression, suicidal ideation, just a lot going on.
Right.
But we're in a great space
I love it.
right now. And I'm just really grateful and thankful. And I don't know, y'all, it's gonna be hard. My
Right.
grandmother always said nothing good comes easy. Okay.
So true.
And everything takes time, and it does. And it just feels so crushing. Like you cannot breathe because you are getting flashbacks, you're getting nightmares, you're
Yeah.
getting sometimes it feels like one trigger after the other. You
Hmm.
are exploding and just angry, scared, crying.
Right.
Just so depleting, like the amount of energy it takes for us to show up for ourselves, and now we have to show up
Right.
for our parents, well, not parents, no, for our children as their parents.
Right. Right.
But we got to do it. If we
Right.
don't do it, nobody's gonna do it. And
Mm,
we're not just setting them up, but we're setting up the next generation too, right? We got our
right.
alpha, right? We're millennials, we got our alpha generation, but we are setting up
Yeah.
the next one for success. And we could do it. And like Aniqua has said, you might feel alone and like it feels so lonely. And I think that's why
Right.
I started sharing parts of my story on
Yeah,
Instagram because it felt so lonely, but I knew I could not be the only person.
exactly.
You are not the only person going through this, whether male or female. You are not the only parent who has had to endure things as a child and
Yes.
bearing the repercussions.
Mm.
So we here for you.
Exactly. Oh my God, y'all. It would not be J2S if we did not end on a healing note, right? Like that is just who we are. And I absolutely love all the gems that you just shared with us during this
Right.
conversation. I can't wait for all of you to just join me tomorrow as well for day 3 of our 2024 Please Ask campaign. If you haven't already, please be sure to follow J2S on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Y'all know I will also be tagging Zinette in this conversation. Any questions, any comments you have, make sure you leave them for us below. And thank you again, sis, for being a part of this amazing campaign. And peace and love and healing to all of you out there.
Thank you for
Bye.
inviting me. Bye, everyone.